6 days. For 6 terrifying days, a mass shooter walked free through America, while the FBI's director was busy defending his relationship with a 27-year-old country music singer on a podcast hosted by the wife of Trump's deputy chief of staff. 2 Brown University students lay dead. 9 others fought for their lives in hospital beds. An MIT professor would be murdered in his own home. And FBI Director Kash Patel was explaining to Katie Miller why his girlfriend deserves taxpayer-funded protection and why it's totally fine that he only uses the FBI's private Gulfstream jet to attend like 15% of her concerts. This wasn't just incompetence. This was a catastrophic failure that exposed everything wrong with Trump's second-term appointments. Inexperienced loyalists, elevated to positions requiring decades of expertise, more concerned with their public image and romantic relationships than the safety of American citizens. The story of how Reddit users solved the Brown University shooting while Kash Patel appeared on podcasts defending his love life reveals a new reality in American law enforcement. When the FBI director cares more about his girlfriend's country music career than catching killers, citizens have to do the investigating themselves. December 13th, 2025 started like any other Saturday at Brown University. Students packed Bruce and Holly Hall, the engineering building where physics students spent countless hours mastering equations and conducting experiments. Finals week approached, and a review session for an economics class drew dozens of students to a stadium-style classroom at 4 p.m. Ella Cook, a 19-year-old sophomore from Alabama, sat taking notes. The vice president of Brown's College Republicans, Ella had a heart as big as the sun, according to her obituary. Her family described her silent leadership, the kind of student who helped others succeed without seeking recognition. Mukhammad Aziz Umarzokov, an 18-year-old freshman from Virginia, focused on his exam preparation. His family had immigrated from Uzbekistan when he was a child. He dreamed of becoming a doctor. He had his whole life ahead of him. At exactly 4:07 p.m., a man in a face mask and dark clothing walked through the door. Students barely had time to look up before the shooting began. Witnesses described chaos, the deafening crack of gunfire in an enclosed space, students scrambling under desks, the smell of gunpowder, screams echoing off classroom walls. Ella Cook and Mukhammad Aziz Umarzokov never made it out. 9 other students were rushed to Rhode Island Hospital with gunshot wounds. 6 would remain in critical condition for days. The shooter fled on foot, disappearing into Providence's East Side neighborhoods, while hundreds of students sheltered in place, texting terrified messages to their families. Within hours, FBI Director Kash Patel inserted himself into the investigation with characteristic bombast. At 6:23 p.m., he tweeted, "FBI personnel are on the scene and assisting this evening after the shooting at Brown University." He promised to update with more information as we are able. But Patel's next update, posted Sunday morning at 11:38 a.m., would become the first of many catastrophic missteps that would define the investigation. An update on the FBI response at Brown University, Patel announced triumphantly. FBI Boston established a command post to intake, develop, and analyze leads, and run them to ground. We activated the FBI's Cellular Analysis Survey team to provide critical geolocation capabilities. The announcement read like a press release designed to showcase FBI technological prowess. Patel described how, early this morning, FBI Boston's Safe Streets Task Force, with assistance from the U.S. Marshals and the Coventry RI Police Department, detained a person of interest in a hotel room in Coventry RI. Case closed, right? The FBI director had personally announced that advanced geolocation technology had tracked down the suspect. America could breathe easier knowing the shooter was in custody. Except it was completely false. That evening, at a press conference, Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Naranjo delivered the devastating news: the detained man was being released. Evidence in this case now points in a different direction, Naranjo explained, his voice tight with frustration. We have a murderer out there. For anyone who had followed Kash Patel's brief tenure as FBI director, the premature announcement felt sickeningly familiar. 3 months earlier, on September 10th, hours after conservative activist Charlie Kirk was assassinated at Utah Valley University, Patel had tweeted that and dan da sabasar checked for the horrific shooting is now in custody. That announcement was also false. The actual suspect, Tyler Robinson, remained free for another 33 hours before his parents recognized him in surveillance footage and convinced him to surrender. Patel had jumped the gun, announcing an arrest that hadn't actually happened, creating false security while a killer remained free. Now, facing criticism for repeating the exact same mistake, Patel did what he always did when questioned. He went on offense. But instead of focusing on the manhunt for a mass shooter who had now been free for more than 24 hours, Patel agreed to appear on the Katie Miller podcast, hosted by Katie Miller, wife of White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, for a romantic interview with his girlfriend, country music singer Alexis Wilkins. The episode, recorded before the Brown shooting, but scheduled to air Tuesday, December 16th, while the manhunt continued, opened with a warning on a black screen. This interview was recorded before the horrific mass shooting at Brown University. The disclaimer couldn't hide the terrible optics. The FBI director discussing his relationship, while a killer remained at large. In the interview, Patel whined about media criticism of his use of the FBI's private Gulfstream jet to attend Wilkins's concerts. If I was actually abusing it, I would actually be seeing every one of her shows, he complained. I think I get to like 15%. The defense was absurd on multiple levels. Patel essentially admitted to using taxpayer-funded aircraft for personal travel, then claimed he deserved credit for only attending 15% of his girlfriend's performances. It was like a bank robber arguing he should be praised for only stealing on Tuesdays. Katie Miller, conducting what might be the most softball interview in podcast history, asked Wilkins if she disagreed with Patel on anything significant. After fumbling through political implications, Wilkins revealed their most serious disagreement. Patel likes spicy food, while she does not. Scintillating stuff, as Slate later noted sarcastically. While Patel defended his love life on podcasts, actual investigative work was happening elsewhere, on Reddit. A user posting under the name John had encountered something unusual near Brown University shortly before the shooting. The person seemed out of place, nervous, and was associated with a gray Nissan rental car. John posted his observations on Reddit, suggesting police look into possibly a rental. Gray Nissan. Law enforcement followed the lead. By Wednesday, December 17th, they had tracked the rental car to a Massachusetts company. Security footage showed a man matching the suspect's description. The rental agreement provided his real name: Claudio Manuel Neves Valente, 48 years old, a Portuguese national and former Brown physics student from 2000 to 2001. Reddit had solved what the FBI couldn't. A random internet user with good observational skills had provided the breakthrough that critical geolocation capabilities had failed to produce. But even this victory was marred by FBI incompetence. On Tuesday, December 16, the FBI posted surveillance footage compilation showing the suspect walking through various locations. The problem? The footage included home addresses of civilians whose security cameras had captured the images. The FBI quickly deleted the post, edited out the addresses, and reposted. A rookie mistake that would be embarrassing for a local police department, much less the nation's premier law enforcement agency under a director supposedly running a reformed, professional operation. Meanwhile, something far more sinister was unfolding. On Monday, December 15th, just 2 days after the Brown shooting, an MIT physics professor named Nuno Loureiro was shot and killed outside his apartment building in Brookline, Massachusetts, roughly 50 miles from Providence. Initially, it seemed like a separate crime, but investigators noticed something chilling. Surveillance footage near Loureiro's residence showed the same gray Nissan rental car that had been spotted at Brown. The same man, Claudio Neves Valente, had driven from Providence to Boston, stalked an MIT professor, and executed him. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered the connection. Valente and Loureiro had both attended Instituto Superior Técnico, Portugal's premier engineering school, between 1995 and 2000. Loureiro graduated from the physics program in 2000. That same year, according to archived documents, Valente was terminated from a position at the Lisbon University by the school's president. 25 years later, whatever grievance Valente harbored had exploded into murderous rage. First at Brown, where he had spent the 2000 to 2001 academic year as a physics PhD student before taking leave and never returning. Then, at the home of a former academic colleague from Portugal. The FBI offered a $50,000 reward for information. Hundreds of officers combed through Providence neighborhoods. Students remained on edge, with many leaving campus early for winter break. Faculty questioned whether finals could safely proceed. On Thursday evening, December 18th, police received intelligence that the gray Nissan had been spotted near a storage facility in Salem, New Hampshire, roughly 80 miles north of Providence. Multiple law enforcement agencies descended on the extra space storage location. At a Thursday night press conference, Providence Police Chief Oscar Perez, Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Naranja, and FBI officials revealed the full scope of the case. 2 murders across 2 states, 3 dead students and professors, 9 wounded victims, and a suspect who had eluded capture for nearly a week, despite the FBI director personally announcing arrests. The political fallout was immediate and savage. Senator Ed Markey, a Massachusetts Democrat, didn't mince words. It's just a further demonstration of how completely unqualified he is and how he has to be removed from his position. In this instance, it led people to believe that the culprit had been caught, which reduced everyone's attention for that time period, where perhaps with a little more focus, that person could have been apprehended. Senator Jack Reed from Rhode Island, while praising local FBI agents, criticized Patel directly. The premature leak of information was unfortunate. The first priority is to capture the real perpetrator, and the second priority is to notify the public, and I think he reversed those. Reed, who voted against Patel's confirmation, noted the director's departure from FBI tradition. "There's been a series of miscues. I didn't think he had the experience or the temperament to effectively carry out the job." Conservative critics joined the pile-on. Kentucky Representative Thomas Massey, who had previously praised Patel, expressed concern over his handling of both the Brown shooting and ongoing controversies over Epstein files. The MAGA coalition that had celebrated Patel's appointment began questioning whether loyalty to Trump was sufficient qualification for leading federal law enforcement. The scandal involving Patel's girlfriend, Alexis Wilkins, added another layer of disgrace. CBS News revealed that Patel had assigned FBI SWAT agents to protect Wilkins at taxpayer expense, citing death threats she allegedly received. He had used the FBI's Gulfstream jet to fly to her concerts, a luxury hunting lodge in Texas, owned by a GOP donor family, and a golf outing in Scotland with friends. Most damaging was the revelation that Patel had hired his personal publicist, Erica Knight, as an FBI media advisor using taxpayer funds. Knight, who Patel called the best publicist in America, defended him fiercely on social media, praising someone who's arrested 28,000 violent criminals, while ignoring that those arrests happened under the work of career FBI agents, not Patel's leadership. The optics were catastrophic. An FBI director using federal resources as personal perks while failing at his actual job, catching criminals. Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee announced investigations into Patel's flight logs and use of FBI resources. Republicans quietly distanced themselves. Even Trump, who rarely abandons loyalists, remained conspicuously silent as criticism mounted. For Brown University, the trauma continued long after Valente's body was found. Memorial services for Ella Cook and Mukhammad Aziz Umar Zokov drew thousands. Flowers and candles piled up outside campus gates. Students grappled with survivors' guilt, fear, and questions about security failures that allowed an attacker to enter a building during finals week without detection. Brown President Christina Paxson noted grimly that Valente would have spent a good amount of his time in that building during his brief tenure as a student. The same classrooms where he had once studied physics became the scene of his murderous rampage 24 years later. The political implications extended beyond Patel's personal embarrassment. President Trump, seizing on Valente's immigration status, suspended the diversity visa lottery program that had granted Valente legal permanent residency in 2017. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem announced, "This heinous individual should never have been allowed in our country." It was classic Trump playbook. Distract from FBI incompetence by blaming immigration policy. Never mind that Valente had been in the United States legally for years, or that his crimes stemmed from personal grievances formed decades ago in Portugal, not immigration status. As 2025 wound down, the Brown shooting became a symbol of everything wrong with Trump's second-term governance. Inexperienced loyalists in critical positions, personal interests taking priority over public service, and a media strategy focused on defending the indefensible rather than admitting mistakes and learning from them. Kash Patel remained FBI director, but his credibility lay in ruins. He had announced wrong suspects in 2 high-profile cases. He had appeared on podcasts defending his girlfriend while manhunts continued. He had used federal resources for personal benefit. And when Reddit users solved a case the FBI couldn't, he faced the ultimate humiliation, ordinary citizens proving more competent than America's premier law enforcement agency. The lesson was clear and devastating. When the FBI director treats his position as a platform for personal branding and romantic adventures rather than public service, American citizens pay the price. Ella Cook and Mukhammad Aziz Umarzokov paid with their lives. Professor Nuno Loureiro paid with his. 9 wounded students paid with their trauma and suffering. And while Kash Patel flew on private jets to see his country singer girlfriend perform, a Reddit user named John did the job the FBI director couldn't: solve the case and bring a killer one step closer to justice.